to have a special guest here, a member of Congress, who has agreed to appear virtually so that you could hear some of his perspectives. So I'd like to have you all welcome Congressman Don Bacon.
Thank you. Glad to be with you guys.
You know, growing up and working on an Illinois farm, Congressman Bacon understands the hard work that goes into farming and ranching. He also understands the military. In 1985, he joined the U.S. Air Force and served nearly 30 years on active duty, culminating in his military career at the rank of Brigadier General. He now represents Nebraska's 2nd District and serves on the House Ag Committee as well as the Armed Services Committee. So we're so pleased to have you here in this room. We have several hundred people here, Congressman Bacon, and we're excited to hear your comments. And so I thought I'd start first with just a couple of questions. First of all, when you think about innovation in agriculture, and from the time that you were growing up on that farm in Illinois to what you're seeing now across your district and with farmers that you visit with, what do you see in terms of some of the changes and the advancements in agricultural innovation?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I wish I could be with you in person. But without the votes and no committee hearings, I'm glad I could do this virtually. But I hope you guys have a great sets of meetings and discussions. Yeah, I was raised on a corn and soybean farm, and we had some beef cattle as well. And we had like 4 houses on the farm. My grandparents had an aunt and uncle and another aunt than my family. And it was sort of the family farm, but I was the oldest grandkid. And so I worked the farm from the time I can remember until I joined the Air Force at 21. And for one, it used to take me all day to plant or disc or whatever it may be, a 50-acre field. Now when I go back home with the bigger tractors and the super wide planters, you can do a 50-acre field in about 2 hours. So right away, a big difference. I mean, I would be given that 50-acre field, I would work it all day just to get it done. GPS. When I would drive a tractor when I was a teenager, and I had the big wavy lines, and I didn't look far enough ahead. I was inexperienced. Today, you just type in the GPS, and you get straight lines, and that is totally foreign to someone like me. If you look at our sprayers, we have sprayers today that know to spray the weeds and not, the soybeans or the corn or on empty ground, but it will just, pin target the actual weed, and it expands your chemicals use for by 20 times, right? So this new technology on the sprayers I find are very incredible. Pivot irrigation. We have pivot irrigation in our fields, but you have to go manually turn them on and off. Today, you take your cell phone, you can turn them all on and all off with about 15 seconds. So a 5 to 6 hour job is now 10 seconds, right? And so that's another automation thing. Finally, I'll just talk about the yields. And we had a lot lower yields when I was in the 1970s. So our yields have gone up. But I want you to think about something. In the 1930s, we would average 35 bushel an acre for corn. This year, we're just under 190 bushel an acre. And so that is technology, that is research. And that's it. And ultimately, that's where the rubber hits the road. Expanded yields.
Well, thank you for that overview. We know that the House Ag Committee held a hearing on innovation earlier this year to highlight some of the same things that we're talking about here during this conference. How confident are you that we have the right pathways in place, both from a federal government standpoint and in the private sector, to help farmers really continue to produce sustainably and economically?
I think America does it better than anywhere else. We just have to make sure that red tape doesn't choke us and stymie the research and innovation. But first of all, we have great universities and great businesses to do research. And I think the government has a role of putting money into research, but ultimately, I don't think that's the most significant role. It's a part role. We got to, between our universities and businesses doing this research, we are coming up with new and better ways of doing things all the time. So I think the number one goal is for the government not to stymie our research with red tape and things like that. Secondly, we do have a great university system. I particularly see it out here in Nebraska. We have researchers at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and they have various experts in all of our counties that have agriculture. So the farmers and ranchers in all of our 93 counties will have access to the latest research. They can just call, they call it the extension program. They can just call the University of Nebraska-Lincoln representative from their county and get the latest data, whether it's corn, soybeans, cattle, pork, you name it. And I love that partnership with our university. So those are the things that stand out to me. Well, we got to make sure that we do adequate financial investments in research, but ultimately get out of the way. And I think our companies and universities, they solve major problems without government pushing them.
So you've also introduced several different measures and priorities as we think about a new farm bill that some hope springs eternal on that, including the American Agricultural Security Act. Why are those provisions that you've introduced so important to you, and what do you think they'll mean for American agriculture?
I have 6 standalone bills that I've written, and they're all into the Farm Bill. I suspect 5 of them would get past the Senate. So I have an opportunity to get 5 good bills through this process, and maybe one of them will be taken out. But on the American Agriculture Research Security Act, what we want to do is build a partnership with our universities like the DOD has. DOD has partners in many of our universities, whether it's cyber, terrorism, nuclear, theory, you name it. And they have these partnerships where academics are doing a lot of the work that the DOD can capitalize on. And I want to do something similar with agriculture. And so we have a lot of threats out there. So my provision here would create a university partnership. And I'm not sure which university, that's something that the agriculture department could figure out. But to study the threats like the bio threats, we recently had Chinese citizens come here, and they had stuff on them that could have contaminated our soybeans terribly. We also know we have things like foot and mouth disease that could be taken here, swine fever. There could be these bio threats that could be introduced by a foreign threat or just naturally. We want to be able to respond to that. Our farmers today are on average targeted in our ag industry 35 times a day, right, through cyber threats. So I want to have the ability to improve our farmers and our ranchers and our ag industry's ability to defend this industry against these cyber attacks. So what I want to do is this bill provides a partnership with the university to research the threats that our farmers, ranchers, and the ag industry confronts, and hopefully it helps the ag community here get to a better spot that we can better defend against them. That's just one of my bills. Just let you know, I have the Youth Lead Act, which will increase funding for 4-H and the future farmers of America. I have the Soil Act, which will help brand new farmers get pre-approved loans so they can bid on farmland and get started. And right now it's very hard for a new farmer to get going. I have the AFIDA Act, which looks at the Chinese threat buying our farmland. And so those are the main ones for this audience here that we have. And I think all of those stand a good chance of passing both the House and Senate.
Well, thank you, Congressman Bacon. We really appreciate you being with us and for your service. And before I let you go, if we're going to take any odds today on that, either skinny or Farm Bill 2.0 moving yet this year, what kind of odds are you given these days?
I think we have 2-to-1 odds that we'll get it passed. It's very alarming that what you hear from the other side of the aisle, and I don't want to be too partisan, because I'm an empathetic person. I put myself in other people's shoes. I understand some of the anger that is directed towards our president. But what you're hearing out there on this shutdown, on the surface, it's about COVID-era tax credits for ACA. Maybe it's the work requirements that are put on SNAP and Medicaid. But ultimately, if you listen long enough, you dig underneath it, it's really anger at our president. And so when I talk to my colleagues across the aisle, a lot of these particular issues, I think they're very negotiable. We can find a middle ground. But if you push into it, there's really just they wanted to fight back on the president and really argue against like the rescission cuts that were made, tariffs, and some of the stuff I understand too. I'm not a tariff guy, and I don't really even like the pocket rescissions. Those Supreme Court ruled in its favor. Why I'm saying all of this is I think if it was on specific issues, we can get a farm bill passed, we can get a defense bill passed, get the government funded, because I think a lot of these issues there's middle ground there to be had. What worries me, this is more about we want to fight President Trump. And if that is the main motivator, that is much harder to get the government funded, to get a farm bill passed. If somebody doesn't want to find middle ground with you, and they just want to fight. So that's my worry is there's a spirit of we want to show the president we're fighting back and our base that we're fighting back against the president. And that's concerning. But most reasonable people should think we need a farm bill. And we all rely on the American farmer and rancher to put food on the table. So I would like to think cooler heads will prevail and that we'll get some kind of skinny farm bill done.
Thank you, Congressman Bacon. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.